Going live.
Okay,
so we are live. Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is Shahira. मैं सब लोगों को ऑटिज्म रिसोर्स पाकिस्तान की तरफ से वेलकम करती हूँ. आई होप एवरीबॉडी इज फाइन एंड हैविंग गुड टाइम. आज हम यहाँ पे एक बहुत ही इंफॉर्मेटिव और मज़ेदार से सेशन करने जा रहे हैं विच इज़ अबाउट अप्लाइड बिहेवियर एनालिसिस ABA. एंड वी हैव वेरी ऑनरेबल गेस्ट विद अस टुडे. और आप लोगों के जो कमेंट्स हैं वो हम वेबिनार के इन बिटवीन या फिर एंड पे हम लेंगे. एंड प्लीज़ स्टिक ऑन द टॉपिक. जो टॉपिक से रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन होंगे वो हम लेंगे और जो अदरवाइज आपके क्वेश्चन होंगे वी कैन आंसर देम बाय एंड ऑफ द वेबिनार. So with that note, I will like to welcome Nicola and Michael. Thank you so much for joining in. And I will leave introduction to both of them. Anyone of you can just start with introduction, what you do, where are you guys, where are you from joining us, and about your website and all. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Alina. Welcome everyone, and welcome to this webinar. The title is What is ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, and what can it do for children with autism? I am Nicola Cefalo. I am a psychologist licensed in Italy and in Switzerland, and I am a BCBA with license in the US. I work with children with autism and adults too from like 5 years now. I worked first as tutor, then as assistant, and now as supervisor of the intervention. And I am too a teacher at the VCS of ARBA, that is Association of the Advancement of Radical Behavior Analysis in Italy. My colleague Michael, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, briefly. Hello to anyone. My name is Michael Nicolosi. I am a Master of Science in Psychology. I'm a psychologist, and I'm a BCBA, Board Certified Behavior Analyst. I work in Switzerland. I've been working in the field for 15 years, and my main duty right now, my main job right now is serving as a director of ABA services at Data-Driven ABA, and I work with different companies and organizations in Italy, and as a head of teaching of the Italian Association of Behavior Analysis, which is ARBA, the Association for the Advancement of Radical Behavior Analysis. We basically train future generations of behavior analysts in Italy. And I'm very happy to be here. I hope this presentation will show you what ABA is and how can it help children with autism, because it can help them really, really a lot.
Thank you so much. So today we are basically going to talk about the myths which we have been, following it and listening it from quite a while now. And now it's a high time. So we talked about those myths and prove them wrong with evidences. So you can start with your presentation, please.
Okay. Just last things. This is our group, because we are a working group in Switzerland right now. That's called Data-Driven ABA. And you can see us and our colleague Satya Riva and our web designer, webmaster Gerard Enrico Segura Machado. So the goals of this webinar are define what ABA is and exploring the intervention possibility that ABA offers to people with autism. This is a bibliography that you can use to study more. For example, Martin Epier Behavior Modification book. It's a really easy to read book about behavior analysis, describe basic principles, a lot of the sample, and it's really an advice for parents and professionals that are starting to deal with behavior analysis. The applied behavior analysis of Cooper, Eron, and Edward instead is more specific book. It practically contains all the science we know about behavior analysis right now. And Behavior Speak instead is a book that defines terms and definitions. So it's a really good book to have. So let's start. What is applied behavior analysis? It's a science in which tactics derived from behavioral operating principles are systematically applied to improve socially significant behaviors. and experimentation used to identify the variables responsible for behavior change. Maybe this doesn't mean anything for you, but it's a science, is a big word, science, because differentiate ABA from other intervention or methodology like frog time or teach or develop model, because while these interventions are a receptive book, a list of behavior, rules are specific. So if you are a preparation on this methodology, everyone follow the same instruction. Instead, the BA is a science. That means that a behavior analyst analyze the situation and base the intervention on the data and the variables that it measure every time. So you have basic principle, like for medicine, for example, or when let's say that you have diabetes. So the most evidence-based treatment is use insulin. A behavior analyst use this procedure, but apply to you based on your health, what you do during your day, how much do you eat, and about your glycemic during the day, for example. How does ABA work? ABA is based on two fundamental concepts, the behavior and the stimuli. Behavior, in an easy way, it's everything a person do, speak, or think every day. Everything we do is behavior, and our behavior produce stimuli and are evoked by stimuli in the environment. So practically we live in a world where we do behavior and we are among other stimuli, and stimuli evoke a behavior, and the behavior produces a stimuli, and so on. So two basic principles are important for the ABA, the operant conditioning and the respondent conditioning. Basically, the respondent conditioning describes how people enlarge their interest, how a stimuli paired with another stimuli gain the same function. So in this way, you start to love a new food, or you start to enjoy a new activity. Instead, operant conditioning explains how behavior are modified from the environment and how your repertoire increase or decrease based on what happened to you. It's like a basic rule for life. The rule could be explained like we learn on the consequences of our behavior. This is really, really important. Otherwise, we couldn't live in any environment.
Nicola, if you allow me just a little sentence.
Yeah.
Basically, I try to summarize. We are talking about learning. What we are saying here is that science, the scientific studies demonstrated that human beings do not work according to their emotions, do not function according to their thought. Human beings function according to their environment. That this is what 100 years of studies, because ABA was born in the roots of ABA were born in 1913. That is what 100 years of studies demonstrate. So there's no inner world, there's no emotion, there's no thought that control our behavior, but there's the environment. Stimuli control our behavior. And this is not only related to people with autism, is the human being in general. So we can apply these discoveries to teach human being, like people with autism, that experience difficulties, new skills, and how to reduce challenging behavior. So we can take advantage of these discoveries to improve people's lives, exactly as medicine does, with biology as a basis. I hope this can clarify a little and summarize the concept.
Yeah, thank you. As Michael is saying, we don't have any proof that our behavior comes from the inside, from something inside us. But we have a lot of proof that our behavior comes from outside, from stimuli. This is a basic analysis contingency that ABA use and ABC, where you can see the behavior in the middle, practically what you do every day. And this behavior, it's controlled, so it's evoked by a stimuli antecedent, the A, and product a stimuli consequent, that is the C. So basically everything we do every day, it's controlled, it's evoked, and it's product by stimuli in environment, by the environment. There is no mind, no empathy, no intelligence, no emotion that guide us behavior. We just do what we do because what we do produce consequences. And of course, there are different consequences, different antecedents. We don't have the time to discuss all this right now. So we'll just focus on the major consequence later, that is the positive reinforcer. But let's do a more practical example. Here we have Anna that enters, buys, and eats. So this is the behaviors. The antecedent is Anna has been deprived of food for 8 hours. We can say that she's hungry. And Anna sees the McDonald's sign. So what happened? When Anna sees the McDonald's sign and she's deprived by food, enters, buys, and eats. The consequence of this behavior is feels the taste of the sandwich in her mouth. The common sense could say that Anna enters, buys, and eats because she sees the McDonald's sign, but science said to us that she enters, buys, and eats because she feels the taste. In the past, she already enters in the McDonald's, she already buys and eats, and she already feels the taste of the sandwich in her mind. So in this situation, this behavior is repeated. So in the future, in the same situation, it's more probably that Anna will enter, buy, and eat when see the McDonald's sign and is deprived by food. What I'm trying to say is that we learn on consequences, and specific consequences that we call positive reinforcer make possible that our behavior repeat in the future. If, for example, Anna, when in the past entered in the McDonald's and ate a sandwich, and she feels a bad taste in her mouth, in this situation, it's less probable that she would enter in the McDonald's. In a behavioral contingency, we can say that the child is doing a behavior. What is the behavior? The behavior is delivering a card. So the antecedent is the child hear the tutor say, give me animal. The behavior is the child deliver the card, and the consequence is hearing the tutor say, oh, good job. So this is a little example of what happens every day to everyone. There is a behavior, there is an antecedent, and a consequence. What a behavior analyst do is just take this basic principle and apply it to everyday life, and apply it to important behavior for children and adults with disabilities, to teach them in precise and direct way. This happens every day to every child, but happen from casualties. Yeah, Michael, please.
Yes, they have seen an example that is from an actual ABA intervention for a person with autism, but you have to imagine that this kind of stuff happen every day. For example, if you are deprived by water and there are 40 degrees outside, and you see your kitchen and your refrigerator, you can emit the behavior of opening the refrigerator, and just seeing the water, the bottle of water in front of you, is the reinforcer, is the consequent that maintain in the future the behavior of opening the refrigerator. Then you emit another behavior that is taking the bottle and drink. The sight of the bottle is the antecedent, the behavior is taking the bottle and drinking, and the taste of the water in the mouth is the reinforcer, is the consequent that maintain the future frequency of that behavior of drinking. I know it's difficult to say it right now, these are just examples, but thanks to this principle, it is possible to shape in a very precise and functional way the behavior of a person with autism, but also the behavior of another person that doesn't have a diagnosis. We can talk about students, the university professors, academic, or old people with memory impairments and so on. So we as human beings function according to these laws. And if we use the laws to improve a person's life, to mount a procedure to change a person's behavior, we can make a person with disability more able to do something else, more able to interact with others, to be autonomous, to play, to study, and so on and so on.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, here we have another video. This video comes from a TV series. I hope you know it because it's really enjoyable. The Big Man. Okay, you can see that he is manipulative. But if you watch you every day, all of us are manipulative because all of us try to gain what we want from other people. If you say thank you to your husband when he make, I don't know, washing dishes, your thank you has the function to say to your husband, oh, good, wash the dishes again and again. So we are trying to manipulate it because it's better that he wash the dishes instead of you, right? Okay, let's go on. So we say that ABA is a science, and of course, it starts somewhere. Michael, do you want to say something about these slides? You are more expert about this.
If you wish, of course.
Yeah.
Basically, ABA is not a method for autism, was not born in the 80s, as someone tried to say on the internet is very wrong. The behavior analysis, and particularly the behaviorism, which is the root of behavior analysis, was born in 1913. We had also some studies before that date, but this is like a common rule to say that behaviorism was born in 1913 as a part of psychology. So we are psychologists. We behavior analysts study psychology, and ABA is a branch of psychology. Is the more scientific branch of it, the branch that is not interested in emotion, inner world, empathy, or other things that cannot be proved, that do not show evidence in terms of scientific experiments, scientific studies. ABA is the branch of psychology that study behavior, so something related to human psychology that can be measured, can be put on a graph, can be analyzed in terms of frequency, duration, latency, percentage of occurrence, and so on. In the 1913, this psychology, whose name is Watson, was the first saying that psychology should not study in supposed and not proved inner world, emotion, thought, and all this stuff, but should be at the same level as biology. So psychology should study verifiable facts and should use the discoveries made to help people improve their lives. So this is what we do. This is what applied behavior analysts do. We are like physicians trying to help a person with a problem. And then psychology developed through all the 19th century and the 20th century. Nicola, do you wish me to go, or do you want to say something about this? That I cannot hear.
Sorry, I would say I can continue. Yeah, okay. We have here Skinner that practically discovered the principle of operant condition, and from Skinner to today, behavior analysis just explode. So we have a lot of behavior analysis all over the world, a lot of scientists, scientists that study basic principle in laboratory, like experimental behavior analysis, and other scientists that apply this principle to everyday life to help people gain significant behavior every day. Today, so there is a great community all over the world, and ABAI that you see here, the logo is the Association for Bioanalysis International. So as a science, we have a reference organization, we have a group, and we have every year meetings where bioanalysis from all over the world meet up, a conversation, and describe and show new discovery and new study, so the science improve and go on. Here you can see some example. Michael, if you can go on with the slide.
So you have seen that ABA is successfully applied for people with autism. In some cases, the video says it can eliminate almost all symptoms, and this has been proved by decades of research. So there are no opinion here on a social network. They are research, piece of evidence, study applied at people's home, at school, in laboratories, in centers with children, controlled study, not just opinion wandering around on the internet. And then ABA is not useful just for people with autism, but can be used for parent training program, so to help parents to grow up typical children. Or also it can be used for increased safety while on the job, or increased performance in the industrial area. We are talking in that case about OBM, organizational behavior management, which is a field, a sub-branch of ABA. And also it can be applied to elderly adults. But there are many more areas, like, for example, the compliance of the patient with chronic disease, or the improvement of sport performances. ABA is a very large area of study. So Nicola, now myth and misconception. Am I supposed to go on from here? You can intervene, of course.
Yeah, go on. I can make some comments from time to time.
Okay. So let's talk about the myth surrounding ABA, because there are a lot. We will see only a few of them. First myth, ABA trains children like monkeys or dogs, or like toy soldiers. In reality, ABA interventions are based on universal laws of behavior. All individuals with a nervous system such as ours respond to such laws, regardless of species, affiliation, and age. So saying ABA just train children is equivalent to saying that we all are just trained. And this is what Nicola wanted to point out before. We are talking not about a method to train people with autism, or, as someone said, to teach them how to act and to mask themselves and to act more neurotypical. This is a completely fake news. We are talking about the laws that regulate human behavior. So if we say I don't like ABA, I don't want to apply ABA, it is useless. It's as if we were saying, I don't like oxygen and I don't want to breathe oxygen. But this is very silly, because we breathe oxygen every day. And even if we say we hate oxygen, we cannot avoid breathing it. And it is the same for ABA. ABA describes the rules governing human behavior. So even if you say, I don't like ABA, or as someone say, ABA is bad or is evil, there are some people saying these silly things on the internet, that reflect the lack of knowledge of ABA that they have, because it is something that is unavoidable. ABA describes how we function as human beings. It is as biology, so it cannot be avoided in any way. Another myth, ABA makes robot children create mechanical behavior, stimulus response. In reality, this myth stems from the superficial view of some specific ABA training, like DTT and mix and vary, that require high speed in the proposition of instruction, to which the child must respond just as quickly. Such training have a specific purpose to help the child in the fluency of what has been learned. But this training are only a little part of ABA, during an ABA intervention, a child has frequent breaks, does play and relationship activities with other people. This myth is equivalent of saying medicine is evil because medicine, because doctors want to open people's belly and replace organs to make people like robots. It's a nonsense. We are talking.
Dr. Butcher.
we are saying that we are overgeneralizing when we say something like that. ABA makes robot children. A little procedure of the entire ABA field. So it's very, once more, silly and completely distorted information. Another myth.
Yeah, have you ever seen children in a classroom? They all sit the same way, stand up the same way, respond in the same time. They seem robot to me.
Yes, we can, of course, extend this silly description of ABA to many other aspects of our lives, because also in schools we are used to make children behave all the same way and being set all the same way. So it is just a misleading misconception. Another myth: ABA is a superficial intervention. ABA treats behavior without regarding to thoughts and emotion and teaches empty signifiers. In reality, scientific research, as we pointed out before, indicates that thoughts and emotion are a correlate of behavior and not the cause, as we are used to think. Research showed that the cause of behavior is found in the environment, as Nicola described it for you before. The antecedent and the consequent stimuli are the source of our behavior. This is what the evidence says. Therefore, changing behaviors through the environment also means changing emotional responses and thoughts, because emotional responses and thoughts are names that we give to something that we say or we do. For example, if we have a child screaming and biting and kicking other people, we say, oh, he's angry. But angry or angriness is just the name that we stick to that behavior. It is not the cause. The cause is in the environment. Probably that child, of course, is different from child to child, but it is completely common. It's very common that the child screams and kick and bite because after that, for example, a task is removed. So something is removed from the environment, an instruction is removed, or other people come here to comfort the child and give him the iPad or a toy or food just to make him calm. But that making him calm worsen the behavior. It stops it immediately. It stops it immediately in the brief term, but in the long term, it worsens that behavior, because that person will have learned that to have the iPad or a toy or food or the removal of the task, he or she has to scream, to kick, and to bite. So once more, we have a misconception about ABA, because we do not say emotion and thoughts do not exist because just we don't like them. It's because we have evidences that something else controls behavior. Another myth: ABA is an intervention born in the 90s and in fashion today. Like all fashions, it will be short-lived. As we already described, ABA was born more than 100 years ago. To be completely specific, to be precise, the applied branch, applied behavior analysis, ABA, was born officially in 1968 with the first issue of the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis, which is a scientific journal. But the roots of ABA, the experimental analysis of behavior, the behaviorism, and the physiological studies about behavior started in the early 20th century, 1913, and even before, with the public studies by the end of the 19th century. Again, ABA works only as long as there is the reward of reinforcement. When the intervention ends, the child will become autistic again. This is completely false. Okay, once more, we have research studies like McKitchen and colleague 1993 or Ikeset and colleague 2007 stating clearly that even years later from an ABA intervention, without any other ABA intervention in place, the person maintain the results, maintain what she or he has achieved. More, thanks to that, those achievements, the person is able to even grow faster and together with other people after having done an ABA intervention for 2 to 4 years.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
Okay. When you say the word of the reinforcement, of course, this is intended as people usually talk about the reinforcement, but really, from a scientific point of view, you receive reinforcement every second, basically. If you open the door, you receive reinforcement because you see the space out the door. If you open the fridge, you receive reinforcement because you see the light in the fridge and the food in the fridge. If you call someone, you receive a reinforcer because you hear the voice to the person that responds to you. So basically, saying that the intervention works until there is a reinforcement is just you say you leave until you have reinforcement. Without reinforcement, you don't leave. You are an object.
Dead. You can say dead because
dead.
We have the dead man test. The dead doesn't behave.
Yeah.
Okay, another myth. This is particularly cruel also for people doing ABA, but I have spoken with a lot of people on the internet saying cruel things like this that also bullied in many ways and make feel uncomfortable. A lot of parents doing an ABA intervention that, remember, is a scientific one. We are not saying about this is an intervention based on opinions, but is an intervention as medicine based on science. These people say ABA is an abusive treatment invented, this is great, by Ivar Lovaas. Ivar Lovaas was a researcher in the 80s, but of course, he didn't invent ABA. ABA was born before he was born, to make people with autism indistinguishable from neurotypical children. Basically, it is teaching people with autism to mask who they truly are. This is very, very strange. In reality, as discussed earlier, ABA was not invented by Lovaas and was not invented as a treatment for autism. ABA is the science of behavior, and it is about all people. It is famous in relation to autism because according to the scientific literature, so it's not something we are saying, it's because there are decades of research studies saying that. According to scientific literature, it is the most successful intervention ever studied to get people with autism to learn and to reduce problem behaviors like self-injury, aggression, destruction of the environment, and so on. ABA does not teach masking, but teaches new habits that, once established, become common routines for the person. For example, using the bathroom. Instead, these people usually say, ABA is abusive and you should not use it to teach anything to a person with autism, because that way you would teach that person to mask. But are you masking while you are using the toilet? To be completely transparent, we as a species, human being, evolved in the savannas. We should get used to do our poop and pee in the bushes, okay? So I'm telling you, every one of you is masking while using the toilet, because toilet is something that our culture invented. And these people are saying this ABA is cruel because you want to teach people with autism to use toilet and making them mask what they truly are, intending, maybe meaning that people with autism should play with their poop for their entire life. This is completely foolish.
Yeah, the danger of this misconception is that they use freedom as an excuse. Like the child with autism should be free to choose what to do with his life. So if he or she choose to hang the head on the wall or just steaming all day, it's what it is. So it's happy. He's happy. So let's do it. I don't know how to comment it. Yeah.
Let's highlight that no one really knows if a child is or is not happy, because happy is just a word. It's just an interpretation of the child's behavior. We are not inside the child's head and feeling, oh, I'm happy, or no, I'm not happy. It's once more a complete misconception. Is an interpretation these people do. So how does the ABA intervention work? Basically, we try to summarize the most here. We define the desired behavior or the undesirable behavior we want to change, we measure that behavior. Measurement is something extremely important. You cannot do ABA without measurement. You have to take data, you have to use a chronometer, you have to use timers, you have to use tally counters, things like this, click, 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 to count behavior. You have to use data sheet to collect behavior, to make graphs, data charts on the behavior in order to analyze the behavior. And only after that, you can intervene, you can apply your intervention. But without measurement, you cannot apply intervention. It would have been like for a doctor saying, okay, I will give you, I will prescribe you this drug for gastritis, but I don't actually know if you have gastritis because you didn't get, for example, an examination of your stomach or an X-ray or any other examination. So applying ABA procedure without measurement is like going by chance. Then after measurement, we produce hypotheses on the function of that particular behavior we want to change. Then we intervene, so we apply the procedure that has already been described in the scientific literature as something that actually works. And then we go on measuring behavior, and we apply and we make analysis of the results. And if the problem is not solved, we start from the beginning. So it's a recursive, it's a circular process that we go on applying until the problem is completely solved. These are just few examples of the procedures that we apply to change behavior: positive reinforcement, extinction, shaping, stimulus fading, prompting, chaining, differential reinforcement, contingency contracting, behavioral skills training, activity schedule, script fading, video modeling. All this stuff have research. We have tens of scientific articles, in some cases, 100 or 1,000 of scientific articles demonstrating that this procedure actually works. So only then we decide, okay, maybe now is the case to apply this particular procedure to help this child. The ABA procedure are not something that behavior analysts just invent, but they are described by scientific literature. Who are the recipient of an ABA intervention? People with physical, intellectual, or developmental disabilities, including people with autism. People with psychopathology, for example, anxiety, depression, psychosis. Companies that want to increase safety on the job or increase performance of engineers, or just the operators at the machines. Or we can apply ABA to physicians, nutritionists, and dentists and their patients. We can apply ABA at school. We can apply ABA at animal in zoos, because the same behavioral principles work also for animals. We can apply ABA to sportsmen and sport coaches, and to people in need of relationship counseling or couple counseling or job placement counseling. In general, we can apply ABA to anything that is human. If you have a human problem, you can apply medicine to solve it biologically and ABA to solve it psychologically. But what does an ABA intervention for autism consist of? Basically, Nicola, please, can you close your microphone because I hear noises. Basically, we have some deficit and some excesses. If a person is not able to communicate, to interact with other people, to play, to take care of himself or herself, to go to school, we teach this behavior. So we fill the deficit. We create new behaviors. And when we have excesses, so a problem behavior, an unwanted behavior, a challenging behavior, like tantrums, what people usually call meltdowns, yelling, lying on the floor, self-injurious behavior like biting, scratching, banging heads, aggressive behavior toward other people, property destruction, we apply procedures to reduce, to take away some part of this behavior, to make them more bearable for the person itself, for other people, and in many cases we can eliminate almost all the unwanted behavior that we take care of. Our presentation is over. we invite you all on the 23rd of July to this 1-hour webinar with our colleague Nicola, explaining how it is possible to treat food selectivity in case of autism. When children are picky, they refuse food, or they want to eat only something and not something else, it is possible to completely revert, to completely change the situation and making the child eating as any other people, any other person. And with that, I ask to my colleague Nicola if he wants to add anything, and we are 100% available for your question if you have.
No, I don't have anything to add. We have some question on the group.
Yes, we do have some questions. Firstly, thank you so much, guys. It was very informative, very, very informative. So I would like to ask one thing. We have been listening it from quite a while now, that ABA is only implemented on younger children, like 2 years of age and 3 years of age, till 5 or 6 years, and then there is no use of ABA. So my question is, what is the minimum age of starting ABA and what is the maximum age?
Okay, as we discussed it before, yes, please, yes, close the microphone, thank you. As we discussed it before, ABA is not an intervention for autism, but is the science of behavior. That means that it works and that it can be implemented for people with just 1 day of life to people like 99 years old. There's no something as a specific range to apply ABA. Something different, the majority of studies for rehabilitation and intensive intervention for people with autism have been concentrated from 3 to 5 years of age. So we have plenty of evidence today that it is possible with an early and intensive behavioral intervention that like half of the children from 2, 3 to 5 that receive intensive ABA intervention become indistinguishable, have the same IQ in terms of intelligent quotient of typical children, have the same adaptive behavior of typical children. Half of them are able to make this incredible transformation following an ABA intervention. But even if you apply ABA at 7 years of age, at 10 years of age, at 15 years of age, you have enormous chances of improvement. Of course, we cannot say you can be completely transformed and your life expectation in terms of possibility to have access to instruction, to studies, to schools, to workplaces, to drive a car, to have a family. We cannot say if we start the intervention at the age of 10, you will have like 40, 50% of chances to get all these things. We can say that for younger people, but if you start an intervention at the age of 10, you can improve a lot. We don't know until what point, because there are no enough research to indicate that. So we simply don't say it. But it is another misconception that ABA is for children. And it's another misconception that ABA is for low-functioning children. ABA is also for me. For example, I apply it to regulate my eating or my exercises, my daily routine exercise, or I use it to study, and so on. So it is a misconception. You can apply ABA at every age you want.
All right, thank you. Can you see questions on the screen? You can read it and you can answer. What is the appropriate channel for parents to address questions or concern about intervention observed during treatment?
Okay, Nicola, do you want me to answer or you want to try?
Let me read it. Okay, I will say that the first channel should be the behavior analyst responsible of the intervention, because you can have an intervention without a responsible with a proper preparation. So try to ask him or her first, and if you don't have it, you should find it, and you can ask to other professionals, like us, for example, or anyway, there are associations like ABAI or BCBA or IABAO or QABA, a lot of acronyms I know, that just group behavior analysts all over the world.
All right.
Okay.
Next is NET and PRT. Are they part of AB approach? Is it possible to use only PRT approach throughout autism journey?
Of course, it is possible. We have to do some clarification here. ABA is like the mother science. Inside this science, we have many different intervention models for different kind of problem: sport, performance on the job, school, classroom management, autism. In the restricted field of ABA related to autism, we have, even here, many different intervention models. One intervention model is UCLA, University of California at Los Angeles, LOVAS model, the best of all, the most effective, research says. We have the PCDI, Princeton Child Development Institute, New Jersey. We have the Pivotal Response Training, PRT. We have the Early Start Denver model of Sally Rogers, Dawson, Gismar, and colleagues. These are different models. The issue is here, what model has the best evidence of effectiveness? The answer is clear, UCLA. It is the model we have chosen to apply because it's the most supported by scientific literature. PRT, Kogel and Kogel, it's another model, and it involves applying ABA in a different way than in the UCLA model. There are some evidences of effectiveness of the PRT model, but there are no so much evidences on the PRT as for the UCLA model. So you can apply PRT if you want, but because maybe you like it. But it depends by the question, you know. If you want to apply something that you like, you can choose Early Start Denver model, you can choose PRT, you can choose other model, there are a lot, the milieu teaching and so on. But if the question is, what is the intervention that is most effective? I want to apply the intervention that have the greater chances of effectiveness for my child. The answer is undoubtedly UCLA. So they are modeled, but some of them are supported by literature, some other not. About the NIT, this is not a model, it's a set of procedure, and NIT is the vulgar name. The correct name should be IT, Incidental Teaching, from Hart and Leasley, 1975, if I'm not mistaken. They are the original article. This kind of procedure, incidental teaching, teach new skills starting from the child's interest. And they can be applied also in a UCLA model. They are heavily applied, this IT procedure, in the Early Start Denver model, but unfortunately, with this heavy application of incidental teaching, we can say NIT teaching, we do not have the same results as UCLA. So once more, it depends what you want to do, what you want by your intervention. Most effective or pleasant for you.
Here, can I add something? Sorry.
Sure, please.
Here, parents are most of the time misled by the naturalistic word, that the word they use to describe this kind of intervention. Parents see naturalistic, oh, it's better because it's not robotic, it's not rigid, it's not schematic. Naturalistic just means that you follow the child's lead. If the child wants to do that, you do that. If the child doesn't want to do that, you don't do that. You see the limitation of this model. It's like if you want to go to work out, to lose weight, you go. If you don't want to go, you don't work out. So how much weight do you lose? Depends.
So basically what the limitation here, as my colleagues pointed out, is that if we have a child stimming all day and he's interested just in stimming, we don't go out of that stimming because the model involved that the intervention is child lead. That's the mistake according to my point of view. If we let the lead of the intervention to a child, maybe 3 or 5 years old, that of course doesn't know what is the best for him, we are incapable of making him develop. But
Okay,
of
there
course,
is a set of people. I want to ask one thing. There's a set of people who say that if a child is stimming, let him stim. Do you think it is appropriate approach, or should we let them stim, or we should stop those children, or modify
this
their
is a
behavior
complicated
if
question.
possible?
My answer.
Can I answer?
Sure, please.
Okay. My answer is why you focus on stimming. You just should focus on teaching behavior. If you teach the child to play with the dots, to puzzle, to interact, to socialize, to do homework, to do everything else instead of stimming, you don't care of stimming. Of course, he can choose to do it, but if you give him the chance to reach something else in other environments, I'm pretty sure that he will not choose anymore to stimming.
Look, the problem here is that if you think that stimming is something the person has to do because of his neurodivergent brain, you will not go out of stimming. But there are no evidences that people with autism need stimming. We can use stimming as a reinforcer. Like, I teach you something, then you can stim a little. Then I teach you something else, then you can go and enjoy yourself as you prefer, stimming if you want. But what data says, what study says, the more we teach, the less the stimming. So we are not saying you have to punish stimming, it's useless. Because if the person is not able to engage the environment in another way, the person will find another way to stim, to produce stimulation by himself. But if you teach that person, that child, to play, he will get stimulation from playing. If you teach that child to interact with other people, he will get stimulation by interacting. And so stimming is not useful anymore. Punishing stimming is a mistake, a technical one, because you suppress the behavior and it works, but it's useless because another one replaces it. So you have to teach. It will be the person that will choose if to allocate his behavior on stimming or on something else. But studies and our own experience in the last 15 years says the more we teach and the more the child is able to do things in the environment and with other people, the less the stimming, spontaneously, without any punishment.
All right, next is it important to take 40 hours ABA intensive training per week to see improvement? Also, it has been said that ABA can only be implemented on tabletop. So, what do you think about that?
Can you clarify the last part? Only be implemented in?
On tabletop.
Tabletop. Okay, tabletop. No. Okay. So let's start from here. ABA is not the intervention or the science of tabletop, of course. As we have pointed out, if you open the refrigerator and you drink water, you are behaving according to ABA principles. So we can apply an intervention to shape your behavior of opening the fridge in another way, or if needed, of course. Usually this is not a problem, but if you, for example, if you pee on the floor, usually we can teach you to pee in the toilet and to clean yourself. And this is ABA, and it is not on the top of the table. There are many. There can be many hours of intervention on the table or on the floor. You can choose. It's not important. The table is not important itself. It's the structure of the intervention. If we want to correct behavior and we want to teach a great amount of new behaviors, we have to deliver to the child and also to manage his, we can say, motivation, because the discussion here is huge. Motivation is a unicorn, of course. It doesn't exist, but we can regulate the contingency, the reinforcement, the breaks, in order to bring the person to apply, to do exercises, to collaborate for hours and hours and hours, even 8-9 hours a day. That is possible, and without a person screaming, escaping, suffering, or all this kind of stuff, but just teaching the person that this is the most interesting things to do during that period. So we can do that, and we can do that for hours on the top of the table or on the floor or wherever. But the most important part is the procedure, the DTT procedure, that allow us to teach a lot of new behaviors in a short time. So it is not mandatory, but if you want to teach a lot of new behaviors, a lot of new skills, you need it. And a behavior analyst can regulate the amount of tabletop work and the amount of natural environment work and the amount of work at the playground or at school. It depends by the child. It has to be analyzed. It depends by the needs of the intervention, of the need of the person. And about the 40 hours, it is simple. The more you do, the more you get. We have clients, we have students doing 9 hours of intervention a day, 6 days a week, almost 60 hours a week of intervention. Their improvements are great. We have other children doing 3 sessions, 2 hours each a week, 6 hours a week. Their improvements are tiny. It's like linear. The more you do, the more you get. Of course, you need a good behavior analyst that help you taking advantage of those hours of intervention. You can stay seated 9 hours or 8 hours a day to a table and not learn anything, and that will be useless. But if you have a good behavior analyst, you can take advantage of all these hours. And again, it's a linear relationship. The more you do, the more you get.
A variable to consider is the parent involvement, because if parents are involved in the intervention, the efficacy grade increase ridiculously. So if parents deliver intervention all day, every day, children are going better, and you don't need the behavior analyst always present. And if the parents are training like an assistant behavior analyst or like a behavior analyst, you just don't need the behavior analyst at all, or just for specific intervention, or just to have supervision.
I want to highlight this point. We have families that cannot afford to pay 40 hours of in ABA with a therapist or with a tutor every week. So they learn ABA and they apply it, and it is a success. And scientific literature sustain this point. There are a lot of research, for example, Solo and Gropner 2005, Cohn and Coley 2007, Lovas 1987, or Clintwell and colleagues. There are a lot of researchers saying that if parents are involved, if parents apply ABA after having received a good instruction from an behavior analyst, they can run the ABA intervention, and the intervention can be successful 100%.
All right. Thank you. Is ABA therapy helpful in speech?
Nicola, do you want to go or I do?
I was muted, sorry. Yeah, speech is just a behavior. So yeah, of course, we can talk children, adults to speak, to improve their capable to produce sound. I just briefly showed to you my presentation about this year at Boston, where I just teach to this young adult. He's 23 years old now, and he did a lot of occupational therapy and speech therapy at young, but seems that it didn't work because he just speaks like single word, and the words are just broken in the middle, and he needs a lot of time to start a word and to complete it. Like just he needed 50 seconds to respond his name, and other 5 seconds to complete the name. Do you imagine that? Just 50 seconds to start to respond. Of course, no one gave to him the time to respond. So we teach him to be faster to respond, and now he's improving his use of the vocal cord. He's singing. He's connecting sound. He's prolonging sound. We made with him exercise to blow, to use the lungs, but not the lungs. I would call the organs at the chest, not the lungs. Lungs?
The
Okay.
lungs, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I was mistaken with the liver. Sorry. So it is just improving, and his intervention just 8 hours a day. Okay, 8 hours a day with a tutor, and I would say like at least 15 hours a week with the mother that is following us and it's learning how to do all this intervention of the procedure. So it can be done.
All right. How do we know whether an autistic child needs ABA? Most pediatrics only recommend occupational and speech therapy. How do we know?
Okay. Maybe I take it, Nicola, you can integrate it according to your studies.
So,
First, yeah, what?
No, I was laughing because we did a lot of research lately about occupational therapy. So I already know what Michael had to say. So please continue.
First, then we will explain why we are laughing. First, every child, every person on this planet behave according to ABA rules, as we pointed out. ABA studies the laws of behavior. These were discovered, not invented. So even me and you in this moment are behaving according to the rules of behavior analysis, the rule that has been discovered by behavior analysis. We can say the law of behavior that have been discovered. So potentially every child needs ABA, but of course it depends by the situation. Every child behave according to behavior analytic rules. If the child has an unwanted behavior, a challenging behavior, a difficulty in studies, a difficulty in eating, or anything else, we can choose to do an ABA intervention. This is supported by scientific literature, even for typical children, not necessarily with autism. So potentially, anytime you have a challenging behavior or a deficit in terms of skills, for example, child not sleeping, child refusing eating, child making a mess at school, child biting, child incapable of playing by himself and steaming all day long. In any case, you can take advantage of an ABA intervention. If you can afford, if it is the case because your child has a diagnosis as autism that is an important one, you can choose to deliver an intensive ABA intervention. So many hours to face and to correct and to teach many different behaviors. So the answer is, when do you know? You know it already. If you have an unwanted behavior or a deficit, you need ABA. Of course, many people suggest, many professionals also, that are not informed by the research studies about the scientific literature, says occupational therapy, speech therapy. Surprise, surprise, if you take the scientific literature on occupational therapy, no evidence of effectiveness. And if we study that scientific literature, we discover that occupational therapy only has evidence of success in teaching and correcting and helping people with autism when the occupational therapists apply ABA procedures. So it doesn't matter if ABA is delivered by a parent, an ABA tutor, a behavior analyst, a teacher, an occupational therapy, a speech therapy. If ABA is applied, it works. And occupational therapy only works when it involves ABA. If it involves other therapies, it doesn't work. Nicola can summarize the scientific literature for you on that. We are publishing an article on a website for this if you are interested. Speech therapy, the same. We have evidence, as I have in another presentation, maybe another day I can show them to you, says that if you don't apply ABA to people with autism, for example, adaptive behavior goes down. If you apply generic educational intervention, generic speech therapy, generic parenting, according to the rule that we learned from our environment and our history, our personal story also, these children goes down. Their behavior worsen, and there are evidences of that. It is not the right presentation to show them to you, but there are. Nicola.
Yeah, so we did a lot of research about occupational therapy, and there is this wonderful review. We will publish soon our article about this, and they just examine all the occupational therapy treatment, and if you read it, they just say that the evidence are or low or inexistent. Like, for example, for sensory integration, there is no proof of or evidence or efficacy or floor time, for example. And the only treatment that seems to work on that have some efficacy proof are ABA-based intervention or are some component of ABA inside. So the conclusion of the if you read the article, is just that an occupational therapist, what can do, can assist, can be part of behavioral intervention group, behavioral intervention equipe, and follow the behavioral analyst in the intervention.
Because if they applied other things, no evidence of effectiveness.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take last question now. What would parents be expected to independently implement at home or in the community? ABA, they can implement it at home or in the community. I think that's the question.
Okay. Can I try to answer, Nicole, or do you want to take it?
Yeah, no, please.
Okay. What would parents be expected? I would ask to clarify a little this question, but I try to interpret it. If you want to give me a clarification, it is better. Anyway, any parent can implement ABA. You just need to be instructed by a behavior analyst in learning the behavioral principle, and you can apply to teach your child or correct his challenging behavior. It is hard, especially at the beginning, because we have to fight against what we call unicorns, that are the silly explanation that we give according to our culture to a person's behavior, like he's doing that because he's angry, or he's happy now, or he's sad, or he thinks he wants to show me that he is like any other children, but he cannot say that in words, so he screams. That are interpretation. There are no evidence of that. So first, we have to drop all the stuff that is unproven, unfounded. And a parent has to learn how do we behave according to the scientific studies. With that knowledge that we gradually give during the sessions, some little procedures are suggested. The parent starts implementing it, and we take data on the parent implementation of that procedure. We measure the correctness. We measure the frequency of the parent, not the child, the parent. When the parent is correct, when the parent on the graph reached the minimum threshold for correctness, we tell the parent, okay, now you can apply this procedure day by day until the next week. And then we visit the next week, and we take the data that the parent collected on the child. Of course, we have to teach the parent how to collect data. And then we analyze the child's behavior according to that data, and we take another probe on the correctness of the parent, and then we teach another procedure and bring the parent to the correctness, to the desired level of correctness, and we tell the parent, okay, go on with this procedure for the next week. And then we gradually build this way a program around the final recipient of the intervention, which is the child or the adolescent. We gradually build around him this intervention, and the parent go on acquiring skills and skills and skills. And the more we go through this process, the more the parent become independent by the professionals, because the rules of behavior are not like magic or mysterious. They are very clear. They are like a smartphone built in Korea.
I can't hear Michael. Alina, can you?
Nicola, no, I cannot hear. Nicola, would you like to answer that?
I'm sorry. Problem with the line. I changed my line and I finished my answer.
Yes, you are back. Please continue.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. I
Yes.
changed my line because something happened. At what point did you stop in my explanation?
You were talking about the parents, how they can implement ABA.
Yeah, I was telling the more we go through this process of applying staff procedure, staff management, staff training procedure with the parent, taking data on the parent performance, the more the parent is skilled in providing ABA intervention to the child or adolescent, the less the parent needs the professionals. And it's a scientific process. For example, we are serving people that are very distant from us. We are in Switzerland. We are serving people in Italy. We are serving people in Ireland. We are serving people in UK, in Canada. How do? We apply ABA to change people's behavior, adults' behavior. We apply ABA to change the behavior of parents, of teachers, of local tutors. And when these people reach the threshold for applying independently the ABA procedure, we prescribe to apply it. And then we take data the next week on the child's performance and on the parent or teacher or tutor performance. And the process go on and go on. And within 6 months, 1 year, the parents start to be much more independent in managing unwanted behaviors and in teaching new skills. And the parents is also skilled in applying ABA, not just on the top of the table, but in everyday life. That's the process. We use ABA to change the adult's behavior. The adults use ABA to change the child's behavior.
All right. If a parent is going to a therapist, what should be a qualification of ABA therapist? You know, if a parent is going, what should he ask that? What should be a credential of a ABA behavioral therapist?
A behavior therapist, it's problematic because the RBT certification, Registered Behavior Technician from the BACB, Behavior Analyst Certification Board, is not available anymore. It will be not available from the 1st of January 2023. So now you don't have a substitute that is spread as the RBT, but you can take information on the IBAO, International Behavior Analysis Organization, that is substituting the BACB internationally. And there are new practitioners called IBT, International Behavior Therapist, which received a course, a training, and did some supervised fieldwork to deliver ABA. But IBAO is at the beginning of its journey. It has like 1,000 certificates all over the world. So we are really at the beginning. We are cooperating with Dr. Mueller and IBAO to spread ABA and to certify new people, but it's a long journey. So basically, I think what I usually say to clients asking for information is you have to find a good behavior analyst. If you have a good behavior analyst, you have the key to build around you and your child an ABA intervention, because that behavior analyst can teach you, can train you, can teach to an educator, a general teacher, a relative, even a sibling, can teach ABA, can verify the correctness of procedure, and can make these people applying ABA for the best interest of the child. So the key role is the role of the behavior analyst. And you can find other people around.
All right. Someone is asking how to manage hitting behavior in 12-year-old autistic boy and verbal and having good receptive language, but how to overcome his hitting behavior.
Okay. Nicola, you want to take it? Or?
Yes. I think that you should notice that there is a big difference between function and topography. This is basic principle in ABA. Skinner's teacher taught us. Usually we describe behavior using topography, like hitting, screaming, or asking, or talking. But the same behavior, like hitting in this time, could have different function. I can hit you to gain your attention. I can hit you to avoid your attention. I can hit you because I enjoy see the blood on your face. Could happen. So there is no unique procedure or intervention when a child hits someone. The first thing that a behavioral analyst should do is analyze the function, discover why that specific person is hitting and in which situation is hitting. If you found that, it becomes easier to apply specific intervention tailored to that person. For example, if I'm hitting you to gain your attention and I have proof of that, I can just teach you to call me. It's easier and function better. So if we teach this person to call the others instead of hitting, he will stop hitting and he will start calling, because calling function it's better.
We can substitute topographies, basically. That's what my colleague is saying. Because there's no clear and unique principle to change an aggressive behavior. It's not like, okay, your child is hitting, you do this. It's never like that. Because the child can do, or the adolescent can do that for many different reasons. So we have to analyze the behavior and find a specific ABA intervention for that function.
All right, with that note, I would like to just wrap it up. Alina and Razia, would you like to say something so we can end this webinar? You guys are mute, by the way.
Thank you so much, Nicola and Michael, for doing this. I'm sure the parents would have learned a lot from you, and we hope in future we will be arranging such webinars with you, so that we can keep on learning. Razia, do you want to add up?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Sorry, I have joined late, so I didn't say. I hope you both are doing well. Yeah, I would like to thank you to both of you to making this possible and to clarify a lot of myths. I believe most of the issues has been cleared right now. And the best thing what I have seen about parents can do, parents can play a therapist role for their child, because this is a big relief for so many of the parents who cannot afford ABA therapies professionally, or maybe in the institutes, or maybe in any of the habilitation provide services. So thank you so much for doing this, and it's a very kind at the part of both of you. So just what I want to say. I hope we can do more.
Thank you. Yeah. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to participate in this webinar, and if you want to do another, just ask us.
Definitely, we will be reaching out to you. Thank you.
Yeah,
so
sure.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
I just want to add something about what Razia said. Not only the parents can be the tutor of their own children in order to apply a good ABA intervention. That is possible. I can tell you, as I told, by own experience, but also because of studies, because there are scientific studies stating that. But even more, I worked with parents that became the behavior analyst of their own child, and they became completely independent. Is it possible to do it? Just making sure you can learn. For example, some years ago, in Italy applied a project called Practic ABA, and I put together 6 parents, depends by the group, and the purpose was to teach them how to deal with their children. 3 of them later went on with studies and became behavior analysts. So it is possible, for example, to organize groups in order not to apply a direct intervention to a child, but to train a parent to face, not just on theory, because of course we have to teach theory, but to train the parents how to deal with everyday life, with everyday struggle with their child. And they gradually take the tools and start to applying them under their own supervision and under the training that they follow with the behavior analyst. There are projects like that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much again for taking out your time, and we shall see you guys with some other webinar in future.
Okay. Thank you very much to you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. Have a good
Allah
day.
Hafiz, everyone. Thank you for
Okay,
joining.
everyone, we have to announce something.
Announcements.
Shahira, yes, we have to make a small announcement. Shahira, do you want to go ahead?
Okay, so
Nicola and Michael, if you want to, if you have commitments, you may leave. Otherwise, you can stay.
thank you so much for all the audience जो हमारे साथ इतने टाइम से थे और वो सुन रहे थे, and we hope के ABA से related काफी myths आज clear हुई होंगी. We have a little announcement. We as a team have decided कि हम एक after every 15 days हम एक Raze, you are unmute. So after every 15 days we'll be conducting a Zoom session. हम एक Zoom link भेजा करेंगे. वहाँ पे anybody can join us, any parent, any therapist can join us and they can talk to us directly. ये हमने इसलिए किया है कि we have been seeing कि बहुत से parents obviously आप सब लोग को help चाहिए होती है, and we have been getting lots of messages and calls all the time, day and night. But since with due respect to everyone, we do have our own personal lives. अलीना है, राजिया है, किरण है, मैं हूँ, हम सबकी अपनी अपनी जॉब्स भी हैं, हमारी फैमिली है, वी हैव टू टेक केयर. सो वी डिसाइडेड टू टेक, हम एक दिन आया करेंगे और उस दिन हम एक जूम लिंक जनरेट किया करेंगे और वी विल बी आंसरिंग ऑल द क्वेश्चन जो भी आप सब पेरेंट्स के होंगे. अदर देन दैट वी आर रियली सॉरी वी वोंट बी एक्टिव ऑन व्हाट्सएप्स बिकॉज वी हैव टू फोकस ऑन सम अदर थिंग्स. सो व्हाट्सएप पे बहुत सारा टाइम और एनर्जीज जाती हैं, तो हम आफ्टर एवरी 15 डेज ये सेशन किया करेंगे जूम पे, एंड एवरीवन इज मोस्ट वेलकम टू ज्वाइन इट. सो दिस इज हाउ इट्स गोइंग टू बी. कुछ और रह गया लीना जो हमने कहना था?
नहीं, यही बात थी. और इसके अलावा राजी आपने कुछ ऐड करना है इसमें? आई थिंक यू वांटेड टू से समथिंग.
बस मैं अगेन थैंक यू करूंगी. हमारी ट्रेनिंग्स को लेके काफी अच्छा रिस्पांस आया है पेरेंट्स का, एंड आई होप दे लर्न अ लॉट अबाउट एक्चुअल प्रोसीजर्स. और आई थिंक के जैसे अभी हमारे वेबिनार में भी बात हुई है कि पेरेंट्स कैन लर्न एंड दे कैन वर्क एज अ प्राइमरी केयर गिवर्स ऑफ देयर चिल्ड्रन. तो वो ऑलरेडी आप कर रहे हैं. अगर आप उसी जो भी आप बच्चे के साथ काम करें, अगर उसी को आप एक प्रॉपर प्रोसीजर के साथ करें तो यू कैन डू इट, यू कैन ऑलवेज डू इट. एंड हमने उस ट्रेनिंग में ये कोशिश की थी कि आपको एक सिस्टमैटिक प्रोसीजर के साथ जो है वो बताया जा सके कि आप कैसे काम कर सकते हैं. आई होप यू पीपल हैव लर्नड अ लॉट फ्रॉम दैम. और उससे आप लोग जो है वो काम कर सकते हैं अंडर द सुपरविजन एंड देन डू योर क्रेडेंशियल्स टू इम्प्रूव योर क्वालिफिकेशंस एज वेल. और आप उसके बाद इंडिपेंडेंट अपने बच्चे को लेके चल सकते हैं. बिकॉज देयर आर, ये सिर्फ पाकिस्तान का मसला नहीं है, बहुत सारी जगहों पे बाहर आगे पीछे सब ABA इज वेरी एक्सपेंसिव. सो यहाँ पर थेरेपिस्ट रखना, उनको पर जो है वो पर सेशन इतना पे करना, so it's not possible all over the world. So इसके लिए आप उसके साथ खुद काम कर सकते हैं under supervision. So do that. اور آئی ہوپ کہ بہت سارے لوگوں نے شروع کر بھی دیا ہوگا کام کرنا اور بہت سارے پیرنٹس اس اپرچونیٹی کو اویل بھی کر رہے ہیں. فردر جیسے شہیرہ نے کہا کہ ہمارے لیے ڈے ٹو ڈے کوشچن کا آنسر کرنا تھوڑا مشکل ہوتا ہے, سم ٹائمس پوسٹ ہم سے رہ بھی جاتی ہیں. تو یہ ہے کہ ہم اس کو ایک کلیکٹیولی اس میں سے کوشچن سلیکٹ کر کے تو ہم آنسر کر سکیں گے آپ لوگوں کا. یا تھینک یو.
ایک چیز رازیہ میں ایڈ کرنا چاہوں گی, بہت سے پروفیشنلز, ویری ریسپیکٹفل پروفیشنلز ہمارے فورم پہ, آئی ووڈ ریکویسٹ یو آل آف دیم کہ پلیز آپ لوگ بھی جو کوشچنز آتے ہیں پیرنٹس کو, اس کو آنسر کیا کریں, سو دیٹ اگر ہم سے کوئی چیز مس ہو جاتی ہے ہم چاروں سے, اٹس ناٹ پاسبل, اٹس اے ہیوج فورم الحمد للہ, سو اٹس ناٹ پاسبل کہ ہم ایک سم ٹائم اٹس ناٹ پاسبل کہ ہم ایک کامنٹ کو دیکھیں. تو جو سب پروفیشنلز ہیں پلیز آپ لوگ بھی ان کی کیوریز کا آنسر کر دیا کریں. It would be great help for our end. Anything else?
Thank you very much. انشاءاللہ دوبارہ کسی نئے ویبینار کے ساتھ آپ سے ملیں گے. اپنا خیال رکھیے گا. اللہ حافظ.
انشاءاللہ. اللہ حافظ.